In this video, I'm going to share an alchemist perspective on balancing the elements in your life. So we all have these essential elements that serve as the foundation or the building blocks of our life. And it's really important to understand how these elements are working within your life and which elements you have an affinity for. Like in general, we're going to have dominant elements that come to the surface. For me, it's that fire, right? And your dominant element can be your greatest strength, or it also can be your greatest downfall. So let me explain. Let me break down each of these elements one by one. So you got fire. Fire is like that passion, that motivation, that drive, right? It can really move you into action to get accomplishing the things that you want to do. But if you have too much fire in your life, it can be a horrible problem. It can cause anger issues. It can cause meltdowns, right? It can make you overheat, overwork yourself, and all of a sudden just crash. So you don't want to have too much of an element in your life. You want to have a healthy balance, and you don't want to have too little either, because if you don't have enough fire, then you got no drive, you got no passions, you got no action. You're not putting yourself into action. You see what I mean? Okay, so then you got water. Water in its strength is the ability to flow, to adapt to the changes that are coming, to just kind of flow with it, to ride the waves. Water is really important. I learned a lot about flowing in water when I lived on the big island of Hawaii, and everything's like aloha and all like that. Like, you really had to get accustomed to the water. Coming from like Western society in Canada, I would try to make plans in Hawaii. I'd try to make plans with my friends, and they'd be like, hey, no problem, I'll be there soon. And it'd be like 3 hours later, they show up, and it'd be like, okay. And what I had to learn is just to kind of flow with it. Things act different depending on the environments that you're in. So water really teaches you to flow, right? To keep it rolling, to keep moving, to be flexible, to be able to move with the changes that occur in your life. Very, very important. See, but water in its negative, like, you can get watered down. Like, too much water is a problem, okay? Like, you'll start drowning in your own bullshit if you have too much water. Like, if you don't have any structure in your life and it's all chaos, you will start to drown in your own bullshit, in your own chaos. You will drown in your own whirlwind. You don't want to do that. You really need to have some structure, right? So water in its strength is the ability to flow. And in its weakness, it's the same thing. It's the ability to flow, but maybe at the wrong time, right? Times when you need to like really maintain a posture and maintain a stance. If you're too flexible and trying to do all this stuff, you might have some problems, right? There's a time to really stand up. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the earth. The earth is all about being rooted, right? If you have a lot of earth energy in your life, then you feel really connected. And it's really important to have a connection with your roots, to connection with your source, where you came from. Right? We all came from the earth. We're always going to return to the earth. At least our body is, our spirit will continue on. So it's very important to recognize that the earth can be a great strength, because if you don't have a foundation, if you don't have something to stand on, right, then you don't got anything really, because you're just floating, and that can be a problem for you if you don't know where you're trying to go. Now, if you have too much earth energy in your life, it can be a problem, because then all of a sudden now you're attached to the materials, right? You're getting weighed down by society and culture and everything that is involved with this earth. If you have too much earth energy, you're going to get attached to the materials that are around you, and that attachment is going to cause you issues. Like I said, it's going to weigh you down. The more things you have, the more weight you're really carrying around with you. So it's really important to know what load that you're willing to carry. Pick up something that's heavy so that you can grow, but also don't pick up too much so that you get weighed down and you don't make any movements at all. Very important. If you have too little earth energy, then you get super ungrounded, right? You have no foundation. You don't know where you stand, what you stand for. You'll have a real rough time. Okay, so let's talk about air. Air is very important. The ability to breathe properly. Very, very, very key. If you can't breathe properly, you don't really have much going on for you. It's learning how to breathe and be conscious of your breath gives you so much self-awareness and allows you to navigate in this world with a lot more efficiency than if you don't know how to breathe properly. But see, if you have too much breath, right, you'll just get so high. It's kind of like the same thing. It's like as being super non-grounded. You don't have too much air. Like, the earth and the air are really connected. If you have too much air in your life, then you gonna be airy-fairy. Like, you gonna be up here, and you'll have no ground. Like, you can get lost up here. And you don't want to get completely lost up here. Like, if you get lost up here and you have no real connection to reality, that can be a rough time. Like, you can really disassociate yourself from reality, and you don't want to do that. I see a lot of different people that have a lot of the primarily air element in their life, just kind of detaching themselves to the point where they go too far and they go too crazy with it. It's important to be able to detach yourself, but if you go too far with it, you'll find yourself off onto these pathways that you never should have really walked down to begin with, because they don't actually lead you where you want to go. They just lead to more confusion, more dizziness, because there's just so much air, okay? So very important. If too little air, then you're pretty much dying. You're not really living. Simple as that. You know, too little air, you're pretty much dying. You're not living if you don't know how to breathe properly. So it's very, very key to understand these elements and how they're affecting your life. Like, we all have these elements in different proportions. And my advice is to move to the tropics, because the tropics has all of these natural elements like fire, earth, air, water in their purest form, right? If you go somewhere and the water's all crazy and conditioned and it's not, it's like you can't, like, you're like sitting in a city, you can't actually go down to the beach and like get into the ocean and like go deal with some clean water. You can't actually go walk barefoot on the earth. You can't, you know, go light a fire or something out in the woods and just kind of chill. Or you don't have some clean air. You're walking around, it's toxic fumes, car fumes everywhere. It's very important to have a connection with these elements. Very important to move yourself to more pure elements, because what an alchemist does is they can take these elements and they can put them in the right proper place, right? They can find the balance in their life, the homeostasis for their masterpiece of who they are. And this will give them that overall sense of well-being. When you hit that overall sense of well-being, then it never ends. Don't get me wrong. It's not like you hit it and then you're done. It's all over. No, it continues. The work continues every day, right? It's an ongoing process. It never really stops. But once you get there, it's like you can get to that sweet spot. And when you're at that sweet spot, everything is really in its proper place. It's in balance. So this is an alchemist perspective on balancing the elements in your life. Be sure to let me know in the comments down below what your dominant element is and how you found some of the challenges that you found in your life, how you've dealt with them, what were your solutions. Let me know. I'm interested to know. And also, if you haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, be sure to subscribe. I have lots more videos talking about different topics like this coming up in the future. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Aloha and pura vida. Keep expanding.